In this doubles lesson, I want to cover positioning and movement at the net. This is an area of doubles that I see players make mistakes on all the time at the club level, at the collegiate level, even the ATP and WTA level. I'll see points lost because players are in the wrong position or moving in the wrong direction. And I think this video will help you fix that. And if you get these two things right, you're going to be 80% of the way there to becoming a better, more effective, more dominant player at the net. It's going to make your volleys a lot easier. You're going to be forcing more errors and you're going to be hitting more volley winners. So I like to think about this in terms of offense, neutral, and defense. So at any given moment during the point, you're in one of these situations. And this is kind of on a spectrum. So you can, of course, be on super aggressive offense if you have an overhead from up here, or you can be on as much of a defensive position as possible if the opponents have an overhead from right on top of the net as well. And then of course there's everything in between. If the opponent's hitting from the baseline and they're hitting maybe a neutral ball from behind the baseline, you're kind of in a neutral position. If they're hitting a short forehand, it's more of a defensive position that you're in, but not quite as defensive as if they're hitting an overhead. So hopefully that makes sense. You want to move according to the position that you're in during the point. So on any given moment, if you're on offense, you're moving forward, taking time away from the opponent, trying to force errors, trying to hit winners. If you're on defense, you're shuffling backwards, trying to buy yourself time to react and get the ball back and really just try to stay in the point. So one easy way to determine where you should be during the point is to follow the ball. And I say mostly follow the ball because there are exceptions to this rule that I'm not going to get into in this video, but maybe we'll cover it in a future lesson. So what I mean by that is if you can take the tennis court and kind of condense it into your service box that you're in, you can follow the ball according to where it is on the tennis court. So if your partner's hitting from back here, this is the back right part of the court, so you probably want to be somewhere in the back right part of the service box. The reason for that is if your partner hits a ball and this net player poaches, or if they hit a weak one at them, you're in a more defensive position versus if you're in the center of the service box while your partner's hitting and this net player picks a volley off, you don't have any time to react. So you want to prioritize defense when your partner's hitting and follow the ball there. As they hit, if the ball gets past this net player and gets to the opponent back at the baseline, then you're moving forward. So the ball's in the back left part of the court. You want to be in the front left part of the service box. Now, if they're hitting from way outside the doubles alley, let's say your partner hit an angle over there, you might shift over here to the front left part of the service box. If they're hitting from closer to the middle of the court, you might shift to the front right part to try to pinch the middle because they don't have a good angle to beat you down the line. And then of course, if they're hitting a short forehand, then you want to be shuffling back because at that moment, they're in an offensive position, you're in a defensive position, so you need to buy yourself some time. So that's kind of a general rule that you can follow for the most part to get in the right position and move in the right areas on the doubles court. Next, I want to look at a couple of live points and show you some examples of offensive, defensive, and neutral positions throughout the point. So we're going to look at 3 points here to help illustrate some of the positioning and movement at the net that I'm talking about. And we're going to start with Katie McNally, who's actually returning here at the bottom right of your screen. She hits a good lob over the server's partner's head, and then she moves forward. So at this point, she knows she is on offense. She's got the opponent hitting a backhand from behind the baseline. So she's moving forward into the court to stay on offense. Then from here, she gets a backhand volley that she hits to the opponent's forehand side. And again, you can see the ball is in the back left part of the court. So she is in the back left or front left from her perspective, part of her service box. So she's kind of following the ball in this case. Then the opponent hits a good lob. Coco Gauff backs up. And from here, Katie is recognizing two things. One, Coco pretty much has a serve from the baseline, except that she can hit it into the entire court rather than just the service box. And number two, both opponents are back at the baseline. So because of that, she knows that the opponents are not going to be hitting a volley on this next shot, so she's going to have plenty of time to react. So that is going to allow her to stay forward in an offensive position really close to the net. So ultimately what happens is Coco hits a good kind of slice serve deep in the court or slice overhead from the baseline, and then gets into down the line rally. And you can see here Katie is staying super aggressive towards the middle of the court. So you see a lot of club level players in this scenario kind of stay in this zone here, a little bit closer to the doubles alley. And Katie stays aggressive here, and her partner Coco knows to rally kind of through the middle here so that she can get her partner Katie McNally involved at the net. Ultimately, what happens is Katie does end up getting a volley to put away there. So you can see when she's on defense, she's staying back. When she's on offense, which she was for the majority of this point, she's staying close to the net and kind of following the ball to the left and to the right. We're going to look at another point here with Rajiv Ram and Joe Salisbury. So this is going to be a second serve. And this applies to the server's partner and the returner's partner as well. So in this case, Rajiv Ram is the returner's partner. Because it's a second serve, he moved up into a little bit more offensive position. But typically when you are the return team, you're going to start on defense. So you want to start somewhere kind of around that service line area, sometimes even two back on a first serve. So we're on defense to start. And his partner, Joe Salisbury, hits kind of a slice, weak return, cross court. And Rajiv recognizes this. So you can see he is starting to shuffle back because he sees the opponent has a short forehand approach shot from well inside the baseline. So he's backing up to defend. So again, recognizing that you're on defense, you're backing up to defend. He knows he's still on defense for a few reasons. Number one, the opponent hit a good forehand deep through the middle of the court, and he knows that that's also his partner's backhand, which is a little bit weaker shot. So he knows they're still probably going to be on defense because both opponents are at the net as well. So he's continuing to kind of shuffle back and try to stay in the point. And because he did that, he's able to stay in the point here. He gets a hard ball hit down low at his feet. Now, if he had stayed up at the net or in the middle of the service box, like a lot of club level players do, when they don't recognize that they're on defense, he probably would have gotten pegged here. But instead, he's able to stay in the point and ultimately backs up all the way to the baseline because it's such a defensive point for them. And they do lose the point because his partner moves to the net. But really good stuff to stay in the point there from Rajiv Ram. So we're going to look at one more from him and Joe Salisbury. This time they are serving. So Joe Salisbury is here at the net. And you can see he's going to be in a little bit more aggressive position. So as soon as the serve lands, he was kind of pinching here towards the middle. He's in an offensive position. And Rajiv hits a good lob down the line there. So I want you to watch Joe here. He sees that they're in an offensive position as well as Rajiv. So Rajiv is continuing to move forward since he knows that lob got over the net player's head. So they're moving forward and they're in a relatively offensive position, but keep in mind, this is an ATP level player, Neil Skupski, here hitting a forehand from inside the baseline. So this is not going to be an easy volley. So they're not closing all the way into the net here. They're staying maybe slightly closer to the service line than they are to the net because they know they need a little bit of time to react to this forehand, which again is hit from inside the baseline. So he's able to react there, Joe Salisbury is, and ultimately, Neil Skupski's partner, Wesley Kulhoff, is not in a defensive enough position. So in this case, when this lob that Rajiv hit went over his head, he probably should be backing up to somewhere in this area. But instead, he stays in a pretty aggressive position, doesn't have time to react to this ball, and pops the ball up for an easy winner for Salisbury. So I'm going to play that point back for you one more time, and you can watch it in real, full motion, how the net players move here. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we want to be moving around the court. Again, you want to be kind of following the ball for the most part, shifting forward on offense, backwards on defense, and then kind of a neutral position in the middle of the service box on any neutral rally balls. If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.